Maybe it's because the duos finals weren't as hype as the solo finals. The fact of the matter is this: even though Nyhrox managed to score the ultimate victory royale alongside his duo partner Aqua at the Fortnite World Cup last year, he never managed to gain the notoriety that Bugha did. But his story is just as impressive as anybody else. It's the story of a kid who rose up through the earliest open tournaments in Europe. It's the story of someone who risked their World Cup dreams on an untested duo partner. The story of someone who went from being one of the best duo players in the world to switching over to solos. Going on right now in the world, but you know what? We have to be the leaders. We have to be the ones to motivate people to stay positive, to be loving to everybody else, and make sure that we are leaders of our generation. I encourage you guys to keep going forward, never quit, never surrender. So it's about that time. We got an amazing story for you. Everybody, it's time to sit back, relax. When Nyhrox first started playing Fortnite, he had no idea how much potential he had. He was brought into playing it by one of his best friends from school, and they started playing together on PlayStation. It was a simpler time, but even back then, Nyhrox realized that he might have had what it took to play with some of the best Fortnite pros on the planet. He switched over to PC and slowly but surely began to develop his skills. He had been playing on PC for almost 7 months when he finally took the gamble to compete in his very first tournament. This was the BP Open Squad's July 2018 event, an early Fortnite tournament that included players who would go on to become some of the Europeans' biggest stars. Alongside Benji Fishy, Felly, and Chocolate, Nyhrox only managed to place 16th. It wasn't the best placement for a debut appearance in the Fortnite competitive scene, but it was enough for him to become addicted to competitive play.
My dad started sitting behind me because he was interested in the game and he wanted to learn about it. And then it actually turned into something he did every tournament. So now, when I play, he normally sits behind me and watches.
While being good at the game is always necessary to become a pro player, one of the lesser talked about subjects are pro players' parents and families and how supportive they are. Nyhrox's father was incredibly supportive of his newfound love for Fortnite. Nyhrox's dad grew to love Fortnite and would sit behind his son every night a tournament was on to watch him play firsthand. It didn't take long for Nyhrox's dad to realize that competitive Fortnite was the same as any other competitive sport, and as such he could use his own sporting background as a member of the Norwegian Triathlon Federation to help push Nyhrox even further. He took part in tournaments every month for the rest of 2018 and seemed to get better and better all the time. This was probably why he was noticed by one of the biggest esports organizations in Europe, Cooler Esports. He was one of the last 2 players to be added to the European Fortnite roster at the time, and while a member of the team, took part in numerous tournaments that helped him build his notoriety and his skills. All of it was leading up to one moment, the moment he met Aqua.
I first heard about Aqua when I saw him on the leaderboards in the solo Cash Cup tournament. At the time, he only did YouTube and Twitch in German, so English people didn't really hear of him.
Nyhrox was first made aware of Aqua's existence when he saw his name on the leaderboard of a solo Cash Cup tournament. Back then, Aqua had only ever done YouTube and Twitch in German, so he hadn't been able to make a name for himself to a wider audience. But Nyhrox could see that Aqua was a seriously good player, and so sent him a message asking if he wanted to try out some games together as a duo. They started out playing together in scrim matches, and it turned out that they worked incredibly well together as a duo team. The first tournament that they took part in together was the Lux Cup, and they only managed to come 68th. It was a similar feeling to Nyhrox's debut appearance back in 2018. Disappointing, but with the hint of something better to come. They proved that they had what it took in the World Cup warm-up, where they managed to come 8th.
Started practicing together 1 month before the World Cup qualifier started.
In the beginning, of course, they had to train about the communication skills.
Playing together in the World Cup would be a gamble. They had only just started playing together. They were only just starting to bond. as a team, and that's why they took part in every single duels week of the World Cup qualifiers. They had to train as much as they could so that they would eventually make it to the World Cup finals. They managed to qualify in their second week of duels, week 4 of the qualifiers. The first 3 games of the tournament went in their favor, but it was the last game that truly sealed their fate, as 2 of the participants that had qualified for the World Cup itself, they managed to come out with the victory royale. It was enough to push them into 3rd place and on to New York.
These guys have all punched their tickets, so let's put them on up the board, get those first qualifying spots.
Then when it came, we all celebrated and started cheering a lot.
The grand prize was going to be $3 million, split between the 2 of them so that both of them would walk home with $1.5 million if they came out on top. Nyhrox was nervous and jittery. How could he not be, with so much on the line? But before taking the coach to the stadium, his dad left him with a few words. He told Nyhrox to try and put the prize money out of his mind, to relax, to just go out there and have some fun. But everyone watching knew the truth. Nyhrox and Aqua were rising stars in Europe, and this was a real chance they could take the win.
During the first game, but then we found out Storm Surge was about to kick in, which makes people that have the lowest amount of damage in the game getting struck by damage.
Happy Hamlets, grab the ballers, play for movement and rotations. That was their game plan. And if they stuck to it, they knew they could do it. The first game went perfectly. They had shadow bombs, impulse grenades, and the ballers that they had been looking for. But the 2 of them had barely dealt any damage to any other players, and a Storm Surge was about to strike. They panicked, used the jump pad to rotate, and were then eliminated. After the failure of the first game, their strategy of running around in ballers to avoid getting caught in a fight, Nyhrox wanted to switch things up and do something different. But Aqua was determined that their baller strategy could do better than it had in the first game if they gave it another shot. History has a habit of repeating itself. While they didn't get caught out by the Storm Surge that made them push recklessly this time, they still got caught in some bad positioning and were eliminated once again. Things were not looking good, and the European duo were running out of time to change the way things were going. In Game 3, Aqua got taken out early. Nyhrox was left on his own and a stacked lobby of duo players. There was still a chance he could have come away with something, but in a lobby of players that were that good, he was once again taken out. By the end of that game, Nyhrox and Aqua were down by around 20 points and had only managed to place somewhere in the top 30 duos. They would need some kind of miracle at this point to turn some things around.
I felt frustrated. I was giving up. I wanted to quit and not play anymore because I was super annoyed at what happened.
Nyhrox was frustrated to the point of wanting to quit, but Aqua wanting to keep going as hard as they could and managed to convince Nyhrox that they only really needed to pop off in one game to be able to put themselves back in the running. So, Game 4 was their miracle pop-off. It was the game where everything went to plan. By the end of the game, they managed to take the high ground and were absolutely uncontested, and eventually managed to come out with the victory royale. It was the pop-off they had needed, and it taken them right up the rankings into the top 10. But to take the complete win that they would need to go even further, they needed to somehow get the back-to-back win. The early and mid game went well and managed to take the high ground for the majority of the game once again. It was a masterclass in pro play domination, and they became the first players to score a back-to-back victory royale in the Fortnite World Cup, and that took them up to 2nd place.
It's the 2 victory royales now for Nyhrox and Aqua, definitely moving them way up the leaderboard.
There was one game left in it, one final shot to make it to first. Every point would count. They were high on their last 2 wins, finally loose and enjoying themselves on the world stage. Nyhrox made a misplay with a shadow bomb, and he ended up taking him out of the game. But Aqua was still alive, with plenty of health and mats, and was able to continue for just a little bit longer. The game drew to its conclusion, and Nyhrox, Aqua, and the rest of the crowd were waiting with bated breath. But then, the announcement came. They had done it. First place was theirs.
The results are in.
They had won the Fortnite World Cup together and had enshrined themselves as two of the best players in the world. You would think that at an event like that, it would make sure that Nyhrox and Aqua would stay together as teammates for the rest of their careers. But that wasn't the case. The day after the finals had come to a close, Aqua sent Nyhrox a message claiming that he wanted to split their duo team apart. Nyhrox was hurt and was also a little shocked. It didn't really make sense that Aqua would want to split the team up after such a groundbreaking win at the finals. But he also understood why his now ex-teammate would rather play with Stompy, another German player.
Hey, world champion, here's Mr. Lucy. Welcome to M10 Esports. Take a listen. Let's do this.
So, in the next week after the World Cup, Nyhrox would begin to rebuild himself. His contract with Cooler expired, and instead of staying in the team alongside Aqua, he decided to take a step away from Cooler to look for a new team. It would take him a while, but eventually Nyhrox became a member of M10, a German team that was created in 2018 by a professional football player. Since losing Aqua as his duo partner, Nyhrox has tried a whole bunch of new approaches at playing Fortnite competitively. He played with Zeno, Item, and Kenstar in the first Fortnite Championship Series, in which he only managed to place 15th in the finals. When it comes to duos, he has primarily been playing alongside the player Bat Sniper, and for the most part, their teamwork seems to be pretty good. But after coming 34th in the Chapter 2 Season 2 FNCS together, it's clear that Nyhrox isn't dominating quite as much as he did when he played with Aqua. After doing something as major as becoming a world champion, it can be difficult to find yourself again. We know Nyhrox has what it takes to be one of the best, and he knows it too. It's just a matter of finding a player that is going to allow him to shine just as much as playing with Aqua. Considering the 2020 Fortnite World Cup has been canceled, Nyhrox now basically has at least a year to try to figure out what made him so good in the 2019 World Cup in time for next year's competitive season. Will he be able to take a back-to-back World Cup victory? Only time is going to tell. All right, guys, once again, this is your guy. That's right, your motivation guy, guys. And if you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, click that all-important bell button so that you can get a notification whenever we upload a video. All right, we'll see you soon.